Hello, everyone. Today we are joined by Mayor Reed of Fairfax City.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
We are very pleased to have you today and to talk about just the community that we serve and just our program in general. So to start us off, I will start off by asking you about one of your priorities, which is focused on bringing the community together. And can you share why why kids are such an important factor to consider when we're working towards creating a stronger community?
Sure. I mean, young people live in our community. They're part of our community. The services and programs and amenities that we build, like parks and recreation program and our school system, it serves students, but students also have a lot of information and feedback to give us about the things that work for them and also what their ideas are. And oftentimes, I don't think we let young people know that their ideas are just as good as anyone else's ideas. I was talking earlier today, I was at a civics debate, and I was talking about Barbara Johns. And many people don't know who Barbara Johns is, but her statue is going to go into the US Capitol as one of the statues of two that Virginia will send to the Washington, D.C. US Capitol. And Barbara Johns led a walkout of Moton High School back in the 1950s to protest the conditions of her all-Black high school. And that walkout led to Prince Edward County schools shutting down for 5 years. And there was a lawsuit over the shutting down of the public education system that was started when Barbara Johns led a walkout of her classmates. And that lawsuit became part of Brown v. Board of Education. And what a lot of people don't understand is the largest number of plaintiffs in Brown v. Board of Education were students, the largest number. So when you think to yourself, but what can one person do? One person can do a lot. What can one person do to influence a community? They can do a lot. The reason our schools became integrated, the reason that our classrooms look like they do today, is because of that Supreme Court decision and of one young girl who decided she was going to stand up for herself, her right to a good education and a decent school, and to lead her classmates. And not enough people know that story, and it matters because we're putting a statue to commemorate her heroic decision, and yet many girls and young people don't even know the story in Virginia.
Yeah.
And so I would say to you, one person, one decision, one courageous act can change the world.
Well, I hope that not only all of our Girls on the Run participants, but just all of the young girls throughout Northern Virginia know that their voice matters, that they can make a difference, that when they find something that they're passionate about and they put their heart towards it, that they really can make a difference in the world. Yeah.
It can. And I think it requires practice. And this is what I like about Girls on the Run. You create a space where people get to explore different aspects of their strengths. I was saying today at the civics debate that the more you do public speaking, the more you learn to speak with confidence, the more you learn to project your voice to the back of the room. It benefits everything you do, not just in a debate, not just in school. It impacts your life. And you have to do things to get better at doing them. And I think building confidence is about doing something that scares you a little bit every day. Because if you're not doing something that scares you a little bit every day, then you're not developing everything that you have to give. And believe me, I run city council meetings, from the dais, and I've only been doing this job for, a little over a year, and I'm learning too. I don't know everything, and there's skills I don't have, and I'm having to learn them while I'm doing them in front of a lot of people in front of a television camera. And so I can tell you, being a little bit nervous is something that never goes away, but it shouldn't stop you from trying.
That's such an important part to reiterate, not only to our participants, but just to the community in general, that it's okay to try new things, even if they're scary, that it's okay to continue learning. That's how we continue to grow. And that's a really big part of just being a human. And on that, how can we help adults in our community? How can we help them tell children that they should be involved in their community? And how do we help kids grow an understanding and a passion for being a part of an inclusive community?
I think young people need to be honest and asking for what they need, and they need to develop self-advocacy. I mean, the greatest thing that you can learn is to be brave enough to say what you need to somebody. Like, I need you to go slower, or I need you to be more patient, or I need you to not speak to me that way, or, I need support in doing something that I want to do for the first time, and I need your support. Most of us are terrible at asking for help. And I just heard an interview with Tracy Ellis Ross, the actress, and she was talking about shame, and shame being an acronym for should have mastered everything, should have already mastered everything. SHAME. And I'm thinking, and that really resonates because this feeling that somehow we should already know how to do all these things. When we have a sense of shame about, like, I don't know if I can do it, or I didn't do that very well. And this idea that it should have already mastered everything is probably something all of us carry around to a certain degree. And we need to recognize that there's reasons we don't ask for help, or there's reasons we don't want people to know that we don't already know how to do that thing well. Well, I can tell you, I don't know how to be a mayor very well, but I'm still out there doing it. And people are going to have to understand that, maybe I don't get it right every time, but it's okay. The more I do it, the more likely I am to get it right the next time. Like, I'm going to make mistakes. The idea is I don't want to make the same mistake twice.
Definitely. And I think that's a big point that we try to get across to our participants. And when they're at practice, that, like you said, that's the environment that we want to create, that's a safe space to practice different things, practice speaking up for themselves, practice using different words to express how they're feeling or what they would like. And if the response isn't what they wanted, that's okay. You can try again the next practice, and you can keep trying until you get it right, and until you're confident and comfortable saying those things and telling other people how you feel and what you need out of them.
I absolutely agree. And learning how to draw boundaries, which I don't particularly, I'm not very good at that, but I have a daughter who is great at that. I don't know where she got it, but it's interesting because she's in her 30s now. But when she was a child, I put them in turtlenecks. And I don't know why this was an issue, but Emily was like, "Oh my gosh, those turtlenecks were terrible in third grade. Like, nobody was wearing turtlenecks, and I had to wear turtlenecks." And I'm like, "Why didn't you just say something, Emily? Like, I wasn't wedded to you wearing turtlenecks. I just was my preference." But she didn't. But now, as a grown woman, when I will get her something, she'll go, "Oh, that is so nice, Mom. Thank you for thinking of me, but no, I don't want that."
Wow.
Or yeah, right. And she does it so nicely. Like, "Thank you for thinking of me, but no, I don't want that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Or when her sister's like, "Well, this is what we're going to do. And I've done this." And Emily will go, "Well, that's great. Thank you, Allison. But no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that." And she's very nice about it. But we've gotten used to the fact that if Emily doesn't want to do something, or she doesn't want to take that thing that you presumed she wanted, she'll be very kind and she'll say thank you, and she'll be appreciative, but she'll still say no. And, like, what a great skill. Like, I hope at some point in my life to have that skill. So, and that's another example of how we can learn from people around us, no matter what age we are. But learning how to say no to things that you don't want in a very nice way, and still appreciating what the sentiment was or what the intention was, but still being able to say no, thank you. Like, I wish I had learned this many years ago.
Yes, that's definitely one of the healthy habits that we try to teach our participants, is setting those boundaries, making sure that they're not stretching themselves too thin, that they have balance in their lives. Those are all really important concepts that aren't necessarily taught just in school or in life in general. And so those are some really big things that we try to drive home with them. Are there any other healthy habits that you think are important for young girls to know of?
Well, I think there's this concept of fear of missing out. which is one of the reasons that we all overstretch ourselves too much, trying to do all the things. I need to be all the places and do all the things and be with all the people, because if I'm not, I might miss something. But the fact of the matter is, when you say no to things that are really not that important, when you say no to things that really aren't what you want to do, you leave yourself open to things, opportunities, unexpected things that are great. And it's really kind of hard to say no to things and fear missing out on something. But when you overschedule yourselves or you're stretched too thin, when the unexpected thing comes up, then you've taken yourself out. You're not available to do it because you've already committed yourself to something that in retrospect isn't even something you really wanted to do. You just wanted to be included. And so I think getting over this fear of missing out and understanding that leaving time for yourself just to think, leaving time for yourself to just think is really important. I have to have time to think. When I go from one thing to another thing, when my schedule is appointment after appointment, literally, when do I have time to think about any of the conversations or meetings or the people I've met? And even though it seems like you're scheduling for not doing anything, having time, quiet, and solitude to think is something. It is something important. And no one tells us that either. That if you don't give yourself time to think about, to absorb, to process, to connect the things that you're hearing and seeing and doing for the first time, then all of that goes in one ear and out the other. And we're so bombarded with information in this day and age, and that goes to technology and technologies that didn't exist when I was young and technology that didn't exist when my kids were young. But now we're bombarded with information all the time. But what does that information need? What does it mean? How meaningful is it if we don't have time to do anything with it, connect it somehow, to make it relevant in our lives? And so to avoid the temptation to just fill your downtime with your phone, scrolling social media, texting is kind of like you're filling up all the hours of your days with things that 5 years from now will not be meaningful. You have to schedule time to invest in your brain, because 5 years from now, that will be meaningful. And a lot of the activity that we engage in is fairly meaningless. And it's hard to recognize that while we're all doing it. And we all do it.
I love that point, that if that scrolling through your phone right now really isn't going to mean anything in 5 years. That is a great way to put it. And it really makes you think about that. You know, like that picture that I'm looking at right now, I'm probably going to forget about it in 2 minutes if I stop looking at it. That's a great point.
And I think, too, reading is really important. Being a lifelong, all of my children grew up being voracious readers, mainly because we just didn't watch television at our house. Now television isn't even a thing. It's people watch TikTok and reels and but being a reader, getting in the habit of reading all kinds of things is an investment. It's an investment in your brain. Of all the things that have value in this world, the one thing no one can ever take away from you is what you learn, what you know, and your education. Like, you can be rich or you can be poor. You can be up or you can be down. You can have a job or you can be unemployed. And there's a lot of things that come and go: cars, houses, clothes, friends. But when you invest in yourself, when you invest in your mind, when you invest in your skill set, no one can ever, ever, ever take that away from you. And it's a foundation upon which you can continue to build for the entirety of your life. And people need to realize it's an investment. Invest in yourself. And part of that is reading and meeting new people and doing new things and stretching yourself to do scary things that you're not sure about or you don't feel comfortable doing, because you'll never get better at doing those things unless you do them.
Definitely. Those are all great points that I hope that all of our Girls on the Run participants, coaches, volunteers, everyone kind of learns through being involved with us, because that really is a point that we try to get across. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode today, and we will talk soon. This episode of Joyful Journeys is brought to you by Girls on the Run of Northern Virginia.